have the coffee at a place where the bike racks are going very
Oh,
close
Oh, yeah.
by,
Yeah.
you know, or in front of, or something.
Traveling chamber coffee.
There you go.
Yes,
Awesome.
so that's good. I would expect, since they're there now and such, you know, if we look towards February, March, realistically.
Cool.
Okay, so that was good news.
All right. Awesome. Let's see. On to the different projects. I guess we can go into the skateboard stuff next.
Oh, boy. Okay.
With a little bit of intro here, since it's being taped and so on. We've had skate parks of varying levels of, I guess you'd say, use and life within Guthrie. And one of the things that we've been looking at, well, one of the grants that we received was, of course, the bike racks. We're applying for the next round, this next coming year, for a grant. If we get it, if we're awarded, around $24,000. And one of the possibilities that we're looking at might be an improvement, enhancement to the skateboard park. Since we haven't, I guess, fully picked exactly how we want to get the idea of healthy community, which is where the grant is from, along with transportation. We want to see what all is out there, what the possibilities are. So,
And these are the healthy, it's healthy lifestyle.
it's healthy choices, healthy communities. That's correct.
And that would be really under jurisdiction
really-
of Parks Board.
Yes.
Would be, yeah.
Yes, but you know, we always try to partner with other groups, commissions, entities throughout the city. So this would be a partnership between transportation, health department, you know, and the parks department. So tonight we have Sherry French representing Parks Department to talk about something that they're interested in.
Wonderful.
Sherry, it's all yours.
Yes. Well, I've been on the Parks Board for maybe four plus years. And my big thing to get on there was to get the skateboard park. That was my love. And we've done a little bit, but not nearly enough. And this is something that is dear to my heart. When I go around, I go all over the state of Oklahoma, and I see a lot of skateboard parks. Big ones like the ones in Oklahoma City, what is that, on the south side of the Canadian River on Robinson. That's beautiful. That's a concrete one. If you ever go to the 89er Theater in Kingfisher, there's one about 2 blocks back on, as you're walking into the theater, you'll see it around the corner. And that one is just fabulous. It's really good. And but equipment for a parks board is very costly. I want to give you one of them. I've got 3 different things. Here's another one. These are, the way I came up with this was talking to skateboarders around Guthrie, talking to, here's the third one, talking to Burdell Smith, who helped us on the Parks Board and was part of this until he retired. And he has been intricately involved in the skateboard, has looked at it for a long time, has done everything that he can to promote it. I probably should have taken pictures and got it on the video, but that's not going to happen. So you can look at this and see what it is. I want to talk about the first one. The way it's set up now is the skateboard goes down, up, and down again, and then probably crashes into a wall that's over there. And so some of the skateboarders, when I said that there was a new equipment that had been moved in the last few weeks, said, really, we haven't been to the skateboard park in a long time. We would love to go. And if you want to get the kids safe, if you want to they'll always be out there, but if you want to give them a place to go, you got to provide it. And that way they don't go to the Scottish Rite Temple and tear up the marble and all of that.
Front steps of the junior high.
Front steps of the junior high. It gives them a place. And one of the prettiest skateboard parks I've ever seen is in a little town called Wewoka. And if you ever go, it's across the street from the library in there. And it has a big monument in front of it. It's a memorial to the child that was killed before they had the skateboard park. And they raised the money. And I don't want that to happen to us. I want to do it before any tragedy happens. And so this is the first one, $6,000. All of the skateboarders said that would be fabulous. Verdell talked to some skateboarders and they thought that was good. That's the one that's, do I give, do you all have a 6,000,
Yes.
11,000, and a 15?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
It's called a lunchbox.
I think so. And this is something that they need to get over to the other side. This is important, but this is also, now, if you notice, the 11,000 and 15,000 one, one's just bigger. See, there's 2 backsplashes. This one has 3 backsplashes. So, and like I said, everything out there, the one that was the cheapest was the one was portable, and it would probably walk away, and we would never see it again. So it has
What
to
are
be
these made out of?
Metal,
I think they're steel.
steel, I think, and they're planted onto the concrete.
Yeah.
Is this the same company that has made the 2 existing pieces?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh, really? What, I thought the ones we had there were like plywood.
That's been replaced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
That's
that
why
was-
there's a quarter pipe missing at the far end. That was the last plywood piece they pulled out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, yay, we're getting it done. And I feel good about what it is now. I would love to just keep expanding it. There's so many wonderful things we can do. And to have it, I think the location is fabulous, right on Noble and 16th Street, so that anybody who comes in town is going to get to see how wonderful we have. I mean, to go to Wewoka, right by the library, there's that beautiful place. If you go on Robinson, you see their beautiful skateboard park. I think that's something that shows that we're healthy living.
You think it's is it the best location in terms of just kids walking from the neighborhood to get there? Jim?
I think so too. Of course, if we had sidewalks that they could use to get there.
So,
You're preaching to the choir. That's,
Yeah.
we all want that.
But I see a lot of kids go across there. Now, they gave up on it a little bit, and I want to bring it back. That's why when I talked to the 4 or 5 skateboarders, and they said, really, we've got more equipment there, I'm going back there.
But they all knew where it was.
They knew where it was, but they had stopped using it because there was only one major piece of equipment, along with a picnic table that they use for jumping. And so that's my presentation.
So you skateboard? Or did you?
No.
No.
But I lived on the street for a minute. I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right over there.
you're a neighbor of the skate park?
Yes, 16th and, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I live a few blocks away from there, so I see it
Okay.
frequently. It's how I know that piece is missing.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's kind of incomplete right now. So one of
Okay.
these would really be. I mean, this would be cool, but I think these are much more necessary.
What pieces are you guys looking to do? Is it a combination?
I
I mean,
would-
perfect world, all 3?
I would say, this 11,000 and the 15,000, that's an either or.
Okay.
That's,
So they're both quarter pipes? Okay.
one's just bigger than the other. You could have 2 skateboarders on the 15,000 one, $15,000.
What's there now?
Nothing on the other side.
No, I mean, but there's one piece that,
And I think it's this one.
a corner, very similar to
oh, like this?
like that. One side's flat, one side is a pipe,
Okay.
and it's got a small flat spot up top. And then there's a
I can't think what it's called right now. It's like a double-sided quarter pipe that was shot up recently.
See, I may love this and I've wanted this, but I don't know much about
Are you
it.
talking like this?
I love the
Double-sided
kids
like
that
that?
go
Okay.
there.
It's
like
do we
that
have
and then
room
this
for all three of these right now?
We do. Well, I think that really is an either or on this one. We can go, this one or this one. I think it's an either or. Someday, I would like to expand it. There's room to keep going. It's long
Yeah, the
now.
park's a block long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, make it wide.
I think we
Put
ought,
those concrete things in.
I think we ought to go ahead and like plan out exactly how we want it, you know, best case scenario, plan out every inch of the whole thing and say, this is how much it would cost to do the entire thing, just, you know, if money was no object, then get what we can, and then to see if the community kind of, you know,
Then you'd have a
Kind of
master
grace
plan,
plan
to
out
do step
there.
by step, yeah.
because people will see that the, you know, the city is investing in it. A lot of times you might have, you know, all it takes is one parent who might have, you know, a pretty big bank account to say, hey, the city's doing this, I'll go ahead and chip in, you know, something for my kid to have a good time. Especially in Guthrie where there's not, people have the perception that there's not a whole lot of stuff to do for kids, so.
Well, my question is, when's the due date to have this grant done? Have a description of what we
We're,
want?
we're doing fine on that. We've been working with Courtney, with the health department, and I believe we're looking at around January, February on
I think
that.
so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just asking if we have plans, we have to
Well,
have that
that's not,
done and.
Yeah.
that wouldn't be a requirement of the plan.
Okay.
I mean,
That would just be
it's,
taken.
it's.
Well, he was saying that we need to do that before we pick, but I think we need
Well,
to,
that'd be a master, he's suggesting that, I think it's a master plan for the
Yeah,
parks.
and we can go ahead and do all the stuff with the grant, and, you know, we can obviously, you know, put that towards, and with the planning for that grant, you don't have to submit some kind of crazy detailed budget for that.
Right.
So we don't have to make a decision on these kind of things right now, but I think it'd be awesome to go ahead and lay out as elaborate a plan as we can possibly do for that skate park.
I
Do you
wonder
have
if-
a couple of the contacts, like phone up people that we could
Uh-huh.
involve in that?
I do. Another idea, if you were at the city council, when we had the OU students come in, I wonder if we could have UCO or any of the colleges around do a skateboard park. I mean,
Drop
Why
the
not?
designs, you mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
why not? It'd be, of course, that wouldn't happen until January, their next semester, but wouldn't that, I don't know how you got those OU people here to do that,
they
but
came to us.
they did. Wouldn't that be fun to have, UCO, or where do you teach?
Rose State, we wouldn't have that.
No.
Not
Okay.
architecture,
Yeah.
yeah.
Would that be,
architecture.
would that be architecture, would that be, landscape planning?
It would probably be more along the line of a landscape design thing. Architecture is going to want to look for structures to be built, that type of thing. But I think quite honestly, you probably have a lot of that information here just in the young people that use things. I mean, if you were to set out a 2-scale piece of paper as to what you use and do a scale size of the facility, whether it's a quarter pipe, and I don't, excuse me for not knowing all the terminology, but some of the other things, and let the folks play with it and lay it around.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as that.
Yeah, show up with like 5 or 6 of the kids over at the park, maybe even, I don't know if like a salesperson from a company like this would come out and just kind of talk with the kids and kind of have them brainstorm that
Yeah.
park all together. I think that might be what you
Yeah.
And this has some really good sample layouts of some extensive.
Right, I mean, we
Yeah.
could just take a look at something like that.
And I'd like to take pictures of the Kingfisher one. They have the concrete. If you've gone over there, I'd like to go around and take pictures of it, because it's really cool. It's a
good
lot
idea.
closer to us than Wawoka. I think that is.
I could probably go over and take some pictures of Stillwater's as well. I
Oh,
think theirs is a little more modular like that.
Really?
So I've seen it from a distance, but
Yeah,
I could do that as well.
go around, take pictures. Oh, that'd be neat.
Because I would think you could pull a group together around this table, bring some of the pictures from different places, we could put them up on the board, just do things to scale, make a model where people could touch and feel, and a couple, how should I say, models of skateboards, say, okay, it's, by comparison, it's this size. You know, you're gonna have 30 feet to go between this and this, or 50 feet.
Oh, wow, that'd be
You
so
know,
great.
if the users buy into it up front, you know, it can be tweaked in terms of finishes and materials. But if they see that their ideas come to fruition, then it's a matter of, hey, you gotta come see what
Yeah,
we did.
yeah, oh, that'd be neat. Well, this is just lovely. I just love your enthusiasm. This is great.
Now, is this gonna be any kind of issue for the parks?
No, I would have to
all that?
present it. My next step, I talked to the chairman of the Parks Board, and he said, the next step is to present this to the Parks Board to tell them what I've been doing. And then, after that, probably go to the council.
Who
Is
will
that
make
how
the
I do
decision
that?
for what the city will actually apply for on the grant? I mean, is that staff, that's a staff decision, okay.
Right, we'll do that. We'll also go through the city manager as well.
Okay.
You know,
So
and
this-
we have to get a council approval on accepting the grant. You know,
Okay.
any grants do go through
Right.
city council.
Well, I'll jump in, and I'll probably need to report all this to the Parks Board, but I'll stop right there until you guys tell me what to do next, if I'm supposed to do anything. That may be all I do. I've presented it, and I want to throw this one thing out. If we ask professionals to do this, it's going to cost us some money. If we do it ourselves, like you were talking about, where we lay it out and we mess with it, and we get skaters in here to look at it, and we get Verdell Smith in to advise us, since he's been working so closely with this, I think we'll be able to do it ourselves.
I think we have enough talent on staff and enough interest from the students that we could, you know, do our own charrette and pull it together.
I think so too. Yeah, that would be wonderful.
You know, for Dell especially, he's, you know, fully aware of what it takes to
Yeah,
make
that's
something
right.
like that look good.
Okay, I'm finished with my presentation.
Good job.
Thank you.
Very exciting.
We'll take this and you'll do the same thing, I'm assuming, then with the Parks Department, Parks Commission?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, intersection safety and design.
This was something that I wanted to talk briefly about, but quite honestly, is we've gone over a lot of the items for the downtown area in terms of looking at the parklets and such. My time has gotten caught up in that. Long-term, what I'd like to look at is how do we look at our intersections. We've talked about doing bump outs at the corner, planting items and such. And as I look at some of the designs for parklets, there's the discussion of, you know, just doing something that follows the premise of lighter, quicker, cheaper. Doing a full corner would require a lot of concrete work, engineering work, redoing curbs, possibly moving lighting. Maybe we just do something LQC, lighter, quicker, cheaper, develop some boxes on the corner that, you know, still allow space for ADA requirements and such, but make it be a part of creating something that looks nice for the downtown. One of the comments that I heard just a couple weeks ago was the things that we do during the autumn with the bales of hay and such, absolutely gorgeous. Puts in a wonderful theme through the town. I've talked to other people and now I'm becoming more aware of crossing intersections, and where you place the bales of hay can have a pronounced effect on crossing the intersection, especially if you have to do it in a chair.
Sure.
So I think that's something long-term we have to.
So put those more in the parking spaces instead in the corner?
Yes.
Because I think that helps with being able to see as well. I mean, have those big trucks on the corner, it's kind of a twofer. Is you could see around the corner, plus it looks nice.
Yes, yeah.
So-
But
And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
do the bump outs, do they really make the traffic or those intersections more efficient or safer? I think I understand the premises of that, is the stop is not gonna be stopped back here at the crosswalk. You'd be out there, like on First Street, on Harrison in Oklahoma.
Yes.
You'd be out where you could actually see the traffic before you cross. So
Right.
those would make that a little bit
It
safer.
would make it, well, it shortens the crossing time, obviously.
Yeah.
Because you're out maybe
Mhm.
5 feet or so. And for people being able to cross, then that
So if
time.
you're going on the sidewalk, you would come out, just bump out, cross there.
Well, it
Basically, you're
depends
going in
on
a
how
straight, usually you're going in a straight line. That bump out that she's talking about, it's basically taking the space of, it's basically just pushing you out a little bit further into the intersection before you've exited your safe zone
As a driver.
as a,
Pushes
as
the
a,
vehicle.
as a,
As
as
a
a pedestrian.
pedestrian.
Okay.
So, yeah, like Renee said, it just decreases the time that you're out in
Yeah.
the middle of a distance. But it also, when you have those bump outs that come out in, however many feet they come out, that effect just naturally causes drivers to be a little more, to drive slower and be a little more careful, just because the nature of a more crowded street makes drivers slow down.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you put something there that people aren't used to or that catches their eye, the foot comes off the gas and it's, what's this going on? You know, whether it's something like that or even a speed bump, you know, or a roundabout. Some people like the roundabouts because it does slow traffic when you have a traffic circle or something like that. I'm not saying traffic circles here, but doing something that causes people to slow so that they don't get T-boned.
I know the cities recently put some new stop signs down at a couple of the intersections. Is the idea of making four-way stops at a couple of these downtown intersections a bad idea, a good idea? I know.
They're looking to see what the effect of it is. I think initially a lot of people said, why, what's going on? But it does require everybody to stop, slow down, and take a look. And they're judging to see, both from the police and via municipal services thing, what impact does it have?
I know on like these four intersections, looking this direction, if you're at one of the stop signs to go forward, you basically have to get out into the middle of the intersection to do anything before you make a decision. And that just seems like a strange way
Well,
to.
see, that's why I was wondering if that's what the bump out is for, is that makes your stop point out there at that point where you can see, as opposed to back here behind the crosswalk.
I think you're always going to be.
You're always gonna have a crosswalk.
In terms of a car is always going to be responsible to stop
Bump outs,
before
yeah.
the crosswalk.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a big truck on the corners, you can't see at all. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
go a lot further and
Yeah.
kind of edge up and say, okay, now I can see.
And I
Yeah.
think the stop.
It's not safe.
A four-way stop would mitigate that somewhat, because you're not, instead of feeling like after you stop your car, you have to inch out into the middle of the intersection before you go. If you know that there's a four-way stop there, you stop. If you don't see anybody, you just
Then
go.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would make driving downtown a lot easier. Let alone making it
Yeah, I
safer
think
for
it's primarily,
pedestrians, too.
it's First Street, it's Oklahoma and Harrison at First Street. Those are the two worst intersections that I see.
But why not do them on all the ones on the CBD? It does two things, you know, in my view. It does cause people to stop, i.e. then, you know, well, primarily to slow down and then stop, but also in the bump outs, we could do something that looks attractive, you know, whether it's a seasonal thing or whatever.
Well,
And
see,
yes, I know there's costs and fees to maintain
Yeah.
that, but again, it's going to enhance the looks of the downtown and hopefully keep people a lot safer.
When you were saying that the bump outs were expensive, and you wanted to say focus maybe on parklets, I was thinking, well, can the parklets be in the bump outs? Can they double duty, or do the bump outs by nature have to be clear that you
I'd
don't
like
want?
to look at both, and I'd rather have the bump outs be clear, just so that we don't have people ultra exposed. I think
Right.
if we do the bump outs, theme it maybe with the parklets mid-block, and have more room for it, because if you just put it in a bump out, you're gonna have room for two, I think.
Yeah.
I haven't drawn it out to scale and laid it out, but I think the idea of parklets, if you take like, say, 2 full parking spaces, you could get a nice sized group there having fun. And that may be a little too dangerous to put right in at an intersection.
Okay.
That might be a bit much of a distraction.
So if we're talking about a four-way stop, kind of like what we'd have down in, was it Oklahoma and, was it Wentz or?
Well, for the next.
So, but you have
Yeah.
4 stop signs and you have, like, right now we have the bags, the sandbags.
Right.
So we're saying we do something like that on these corners? Or can we make that look more attractive, or,
Oh, definitely.
yeah?
Well, the one at Wentz in Oklahoma is that's a temporary deal.
It's just
not
4
the
stop
stoplight,
signs
it's
together.
parking.
Are we gonna make that more, how would you make that more attractive?
It's starting
What do you do?
here, you guys. I mean, this is where we're looking, and that's, again, just a design issue, whether you want to put something in the center that may be an easy breakaway, on some kind of a post that, just says,
I'm sure there's
stop on
pictures,
4
people have
signs.
done this before.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see, is it possible for maybe even next meeting for you to bring some potential pictures
Are you just
or?
asking what a 4-way stop sign looks like?
Yeah, well, a nice looking one, something attractive. People have done this before, we're not the first,
Oh,
so.
no.
I mean,
No,
there's
there's
4-way
samples
stop
on the
all over the
I was
place.
just thinking about installing, 2 more stop signs at an intersection. I was
We do
thinking-
that
Yeah.
too, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could either put it in the center or on each
Or
side,
on-
or paint the middle of the intersection, in such a way that, rather than having anything stand there, paint it a really cool color and just,
Stop.
do something obvious, humorous and fun that says,
Is that, are
stop
those
here.
effective? I don't know, I've never seen them in the street
I-
like that.
Well,
I don't know.
this group always thinks outside the box. We can, we can do something a little bit
Well, I'm just sure,
different.
my point is there's stuff around the country that's been done. We
Oh,
can
yeah.
get, probably a lot of studies have been looked at these things, I don't
And
know.
I
It's not
think
my area, but-
we've probably all seen something, thought, hey, that's pretty nice, and then clicked on it and gone to the next. Do I have a copy of it right now? No, but
No.
I know I've seen it,
I've noticed a couple of things since we've had the changes here. One thing on Oklahoma, because I go down Oklahoma Street a lot, when they put the stop sign in at Wentz, when you're coming from downtown heading east, there's ankle parking along there, and there's just enough of obstruction, and maybe the stop signs are just too low. But I don't see those till I'm right up on them. So they're not visible the way they're spaced out there. So
How long did it take you to get the hang of it, though?
Well,
I mean,
as a
a time or
regular-
two,
sure, as a now I know it's there.
Yeah,
But I'm thinking about people. So translating that to downtown, and you have people that don't drive those routes all the time. The tourists,
Yeah.
coming in, they would need to be visible. I mean,
yeah, those are things
yeah.
to look at and we have to address. But,
Yeah.
I mean, you and I will probably drive fast. It's the tourists that are gonna be
Actually,
driving slow
well,
looking.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I drive pretty slow downtown.
Oh, okay.
Because I know, I just know people are walking.
Yeah.
But then another thing, and this is not our jurisdiction, I'm just saying that, I guess, but that at Wentz and Oklahoma, where the light is out and it's turned into a 4-way stop sign, I'm wondering if it's not just better off being a 4-way stop. I don't know that it needs to be a light.
I think it works perfectly as a 4-way stop.
Yeah.
Having a stoplight there seems like a.
It's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
expensive to fix that thing.
Yeah.
Well, I can certainly take that on, and those are kinds of things
Yeah.
everybody's looking for is comments, so.
And I go through that 2 or 3 times a day. That's right on my route.
Yeah, I can't remember, since it turned into a stop sign, I can't remember a single time having to wait behind another car
Yeah.
to
No, me
to
either.
go through there,
Yeah.
so.
This is good.
Well,
Okay.
is there one, like on 35 and 33, I think that's incredibly dangerous and it's really expensive to get a light. I was wondering if there's another, maybe a 4-way stop sign, something that would slow down,
That's a whole nother
and it's still.
story there
it's
because
still-
of the volume,
You're right.
yeah.
There's maybe a creative way to bypass a light and do something else there.
Roundabout.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe. I'm just, it's so expensive, because we keep talking about it, because it's so, I mean, we're talking, what, $100,000 or so
I
for
think
a...
it's up to 160.
160,000 for a lot. We don't have money for that. It's not in the
Well,
budget.
see, you know, and
No, no, you're right.
No.
you know, the traffic, one of the issues is traffic from Brahms and Love's
Yeah.
and all that, from one side to get over to Long John's and, you know, all the uses on the other side. Maybe that is a good spot for a
Yeah.
roundabout,
Yeah.
They work good in Scotland.
if they went the wrong
Maybe
way.
not good for the.
Yeah, they went the wrong way every time.
Okay.
What's
Um,
the idea?
The downtown improvements on number 5.
Sure. You, me, off we go, whatever?
We have the next committee meeting in regard to the downtown improvement ideas is this Friday at noon,
Right here?
right at this table. On,
And who all's involved in that? What is that?
that is us basically like it's a steering committee type function to work on improvements with using the plans from that OU presented to the city council and how to implement, how to mesh that with some of the income from the Mumford and Sons weekend.
Right. Basically, they came up with two major ideas, the students from OU, in trying to look at taking off the success that we had from Mumford, but scaling it back to a much smaller, doable, manageable size. The first one truly was doing the parklets, the little kind of place where you can put a few people just sitting outside, where people can congregate. We've all talked about placemaking for a while, but doing placemaking things. The second one was something more long-term, more permanent, and that was looking at city-owned property at Harrison and First Street and creating what's called Harrison Square, which could include a performance stage and a permanent structure for the farmer's market. And so the downtown improvement group that's meeting on Friday is looking exactly at that. It's like, okay, what's the procedure? What do we do? And one of the things that Justin and I and a few others are working on is, again, another possible grant for that called Art Place, which would allow for funding of building the term is brick and mortar, doesn't mean to say that this structure would be brick and mortar, but would allow for funding of that. A permanent.
Who's that through?
It's actually a private foundation that is a coalition of about 13 or 14 different private groups whose main purpose and goal is to fund items related to the arts.
What are they called?
Art Place.
Art Place?
Yes.
Our places?
Yeah,
Okay.
Art Place. The letter of intent is due Friday, so.
The 13th, yes.
Are they big on brick and mortar type projects or?
Everything.
Anything. Found out about it last week.
Okay.
So that's why I'm doing them.
Well,
But
what you got-
it can cover any type of art and entertainment, whether,
How much is that?
If you've got more than 48 hours to prepare a grant, you know, you're just gonna be.
oh, it's a
Right.
waste of time.
How
What
much
are you
is
gonna
that
do
Harrison,
for the-
what's the guesstimate of the Harrison area costing? Are we talking
Probably about 400,
$100? Okay.
okay?
I know.
And their grant goes up to 500,
Oh, okay, very good.
yeah.
That'd be nice.
Very,
I like the Harrison,
oh, I think it'd be great.
what do you call it, Harrison Block or Harrison?
Harrison Square.
Square.
It would be a
That's a
place
great
where
idea.
if we're going
Yeah.
to do, say, things on a monthly basis, to have outdoor performance, outdoor concerts, things where people can come together every Friday night if they want to and jam or whatever.
I know
We need that,
Langston
Yeah.
has a farmer's market, they got a grant through it, it's just a metal
right.
kind of area, but,
Yeah,
That's what they
the
had.
design, and this was something that the students from OU did, not only the concept, but some schematic drawings that shows what it would look like. You know, you'd have a stage, some things coming off the side that could be used as further shade for a farmer's market, a place for restrooms, a place for storage of chairs, that kind of
Which is great for a grant, because they love that. If you can
Yes.
have that already done,
You've got, yeah.
you have a vision,
Yeah,
that'll help a lot.
yeah.
How many parking spaces would that kill?
I believe about 50, something like that. And we've gone through and identified all the possible spaces in the central business district, in all the different parking areas, on the streets and so on. And, Justin, help me here, I think it was over 1,200 parking spaces.
Yeah.
And it could be more, I you know,
I think it ended up being like around 1,600.
1,600,
I
yes.
think if we get,
So 50 spaces seemed like a small amount.
I think if we get rid of that little spot though, it might be good to have some signage as to where, hey, more parking this way or something like that. so
Yeah,
people-
that
Because
would
they
have to
think
be
of that
part
and
of
you
it.
see it, you don't always see
See,
these
my,
other spots.
the thing that triggered me when I was watching their presentation, and they were identifying that space, and they referred to it as a place that is rarely used. And I thought, we've got, 70 to 90 performances a year that we bring people into that parking lot. The event center right across the street, the San Juan Event Center, they're bringing stuff in there all the time. I mean, and go down there on a Friday night when there's a ball game, a Pollard show, and a wedding happening, and you know, you're gonna be looking 4 blocks, yeah, you might have 1,600 parking spaces, but you're gonna walk 4 or 5 blocks to get to them, so.
Yeah, and you gotta know where
I
those
just-
are, so.
I just
Well,
wonder,
and-
I
and
would make an appeal of, let's see how much
Okay.
that space is used on the prime times,
Then please find us some more property. We're looking at land that the city owns. Unless somebody else wants to come up with land, this is the one that would basically be in a good location.
Yeah.
And when we all go down to Bricktown, it's not unusual for us to traverse or walk 4 blocks.
Well, and I think something that we need to do in that committee, and, as city staff and everybody, is really look at whether, the impact of something like, a big project like that would have would it actually take, 40 cars from a Pollard show and make those folks walk 5 blocks? Or would it make those folks walk half a block around the corner? Because half a block around the corner
But see,
is a lot.
and additionally, the additional impact is if you have an event going on there at the same time, now you're bringing another 150 cars in. So I'm not totally against it, I'm just
Right.
saying, before we just stand up and go, oh, nobody ever uses that parking lot, I would like to say, yes, we absolutely do.
What about the
So-
parking lot around the corner from that? It's hardly ever used.
Which one?
Here's the Redstone, and then it's on, it's
Oh, the back
south
corner of that
side.
same lot?
Yeah, it's huge.
Does the city even have that though?
I believe they
Oh,
do.
yeah. It's always empty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
Well,
apprehensive.
you would just, if you put something up front, which may be more appropriate, you'd push the parking back into
Sure.
those spaces,
Right.
You guys
So
are
that's
just kind of
something.
in the beginning stages about those?
Yes.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that we don't, take a really good idea and push it into an average idea just to make parking work. That makes me nervous.
No, and I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that when we begin to work together as a town to develop some new things, the key word to that is together, and get everybody that because quite often I see where somebody is completely overlooked, and it's like, oh, that, you had an issue with that, we didn't know, or this affects you, why aren't you at the table,
Sure.
or a small group comes up with this great idea, which is a great idea, they don't include anybody else in it, and as they begin to implement it, then they wonder, why is nobody behind me on this? Well, you didn't include them in the planning statement, so it's just,
Well, I think on that spot, there are multiple entities downtown using that as a parking space, because it's nice open, you can see it. I think if we do use that, we're gonna have to have a plan, maybe have some maps show where parking is available, have little signs, this is where parking is. Make it so people, when they go to the Pollard, they know where to park. It's not like, oh, where do I park? It's easy, because it's around the corner, they don't see it. You don't, because you're at the Pollard, you're not gonna see where all the parking is, and if you're from Oklahoma City, you don't know.
Yeah.
We need to make it obvious, hey, parking's around the corner, or have a little sign in front of the Pollard, this is where you park. That would be helpful,
Yeah.
but help, make it identified, maybe red or,
Yeah. parking
we got to
here.
facilitate that, I think, if we do
Yeah,
this, so.
and Chris brought up a good point. It's in the planning stages.
Yeah.
We are going to have to look, and you also brought up a good point. when you go to any downtown, all the activities are usually here, and you see parking on the periphery.
Right.
You know, if you have a need for this, then for those amount of spaces, okay,
And I don't know
then
if I do or
maybe
not,
we
I'm
look,
just,
maybe
you
we
know.
look elsewhere for spaces for parking, since that's not a primary draw. People don't come to the downtown to park, they come to go to the Pollard.
Sure,
Or they
sure.
come to go to Harrison Square, that's what we want. But that's an ancillary, excuse me for making this analogy, but it's like having the restrooms, you gotta have that.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay, but you don't put it in front. Parking, okay, we'll need to have that. I've learned a lot from working with Courtney in the health department, that it's, you know, parking is something that's necessary, but we need to encourage people to walk more and maybe to bike more, well, to bike more as well to get to the area. And not
As long as people
focus
know
on
where it
that.
is, they'll go, but you
Yeah.
just gotta make it, you know,
I
they
didn't
don't know
mean for this to
downtown.
get into this big of a
No, I
conversation.
think it's
just-
actually important, it's incredibly
Yeah.
important, because that's gonna come up sooner or later, might as well deal with it.
Might
Like I
as
said,
well
it
do it
just,
now.
it was a passing phrase
Yeah.
when somebody commented like, oh, that space is rarely used. I'm like, well, you were here on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
Come
and there's
on
a lot of
Saturday.
parking that's used during the week, or during the week and during the day, but during the weekends and at night, it's not used at all. So when the Pollard needs room, you know, we might have to talk to them and say, hey, you know, like there's some places for the bank and stuff like that. Hey, could we have people park here at night? Oh yeah, no problem, as long as it's at night, you know, that might be things we talk about. Especially if it's closer parking than
Yeah,
what the city has, so we just have to work it out and think about it.
and you're right, we just need to get all the info on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it.
That's why we started.
That's when meet on Friday, right?
Yeah.
Right here. And come, Van.
Anything else?
I'm done.
I think we're good, unless there's anything else.
I'm fine.
Thanks for talking skateboards.
Thank you.
Hey.
Yeah,
Pretty excited about
thank
that.
you for listening.
I've noticed an awful lot of kids, and more than I have in years, skating downtown.
Really?
Yeah, it's